Alright, so I remember one thing from high school history, okay? Or maybe it was English, I'm not sure which. But either way, it was that Aristotle and Socrates are the greatest philosophers of all time. I'm not exactly sure why or what they did, but I've been told that they're two of the greatest minds that this world has ever seen. They walked so we could run, okay? They did a whole bunch of shit, a whole bunch of important shit that I'm aware of, that I know what they did, and they've earned the title of being two of the greatest minds that this world has ever seen. Like, if you sat those two down and made them have a conversation, it will be the greatest conversation of all time. Like, it's not even close. They do philosophy and shit, okay? They're fucking goated. And you know, I'd say that Aristotle and Socrates have held that position for a pretty long time, okay? It's been like fucking centuries. But now, in 2024, we finally have some competition. Sneako versus MoistCr1tikal. And if you can't tell, I'm fucking joking. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, MoistCr1tikal, the biggest commentary YouTuber on the planet, had a debate with Sneako, the biggest cuck on the planet. And after watching the entire thing, it's definitely a debate. You know, it definitely consists of two humans talking. They also disagree. That's a big one, but that's like the only positive thing I can fucking say. All of this started with the whole MrBeast pedophile transgender friend shit. What the fuck did I just say? Her name was Ava Chris Tyson, okay? And when she was exposed for literally fucking kids, a lot of influencers didn't say anything about it. One of these influencers being MoistCr1tikal. Now, I think we all know why this is the case. It's because she's transgender, alright? Which I still don't fully understand. Like, yeah, she might be transgender, but she groomed a fucking 13-year-old, okay? Like, I don't give a shit if she's black or gay or fucking non-binary. She groomed a goddamn kid. Pedophilia isn't fucking transphobic. Like who's gonna be mad at you? Who's gonna criticize you for calling out a fucking pedophile? Like, dude, someone was a fucking victim, okay? Someone got traumatized because of this person, and you're too afraid to criticize him because, oh, he's transgender, he sticks fucking hormones up his ass? Really? Like, what are we talking about here? That's like watching someone get killed, and then you're afraid to go to the police because the guy was black. Like, dude, this guy could have no arms or legs. He could be a fucking vegetable. I don't care. He's a pedophile. That's fucked up. Like, being transgender doesn't give you the pedo pass. Like, when was this a rule? Like, was like, what? But either way, I guess Sneako didn't fuck with this because he ended up calling out all of those creators on stream.
Where's the consistency? When are you gonna go and disavow Chris and MrBeast? You have way more information. You actually have the receipts, and you haven't said a word yet. Immediately, Dr. Respect, ew, disgusting, worst person ever. Chris from MrBeast silent. And you know why? Because he's a transgender.
He actually brings up a very valid point, okay? Dr. Disrespect really had no evidence against him. It was all allegations. Chris from MrBeast had all the evidence against him. They're not saying shit, but they said a bunch of shit about Dr. Disrespect. I'm not defending Dr. D, by the way, okay? I don't fuck with him at all. He's a fucking freak. I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was interesting.
Because you don't want to disavow the woke community. You don't want to go against your own people. It wasn't about Dr. Disrespect messaging a 17-year-old. It was about a white straight man that you disagree with.
Alright, so he was kind of cooking up until that last point. I don't really know about all that. I don't think it's about him being a white, successful man, okay? I think it's about him being a fucking 40-year-old man talking to minors on Twitch whispers. Sneako then called out MoistCr1tikal specifically, saying that he's not gonna make a video on the whole allegation shit because he wants to keep the MrBeast collab, whatever that fucking means.
Yo, look out, MoistCr1tikal is not gonna go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the MrBeast collab. Bro, you're gonna talk about every other trending situation, Dr. Disrespect, Sneako, anything that goes viral goes on your main channel. Chris, the associate of the biggest YouTube channel in the world, you do a 4-minute clip on your second channel. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're gonna be a journalist, or just say that you wanna have the collab. Stop lying.
But either way, after he said all that, eventually MoistCr1tikal made a video talking about the Ava Chris Tyson situation. But what a lot of people notice is that he spent half the video talking about the actual situation, and then the other half making fun of Sneako.
I've been being attacked on Twitter, just fucking dogpiled about my ignoring the situation and refusing to speak on it, being too much of a coward to talk about all this, which is crazy to me.
But either way, after all of this back and forth, they finally decide to have a debate live on stream. And like I said before, it's definitely a debate. You know, there's two people arguing, and that's like the only good thing about it. And I've taken the time to sit down and watch the entire 2-hour debate, and I've come to the conclusion that both of these guys are fucking weird. Like, none of it is really that entertaining, and they both just share absolutely terrible opinions. Sneako's out here trying to lower the fucking age of consent.
Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old.
If both parties were consent, if the father was okay with it, the mother was okay with it, why not?
Meanwhile, MoistCr1tikal, who I thought was valid, thinks that kids should be allowed to chop off their dick.
A 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that doctor, that 40-year-old doctor, can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make.
So, yeah, that was definitely one of the debates of all time. You know, I watched that entire thing, okay, all 2 hours, and I feel like I lost like 10 IQ points from it. And now listen, okay, while that debate might not be the most intelligent conversation, this is the type of discussions that we need, okay? You think Aristotle and Socrates were talking about the age of consent and transgender children?
Okay, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
No, that's not what should happen. That is, very, very far from what should happen. Listen, okay, I'm not even transphobic, alright? If you're mentally ill and taking a bunch of hormones and becoming transgender makes you feel better, by all means, go ahead. It's pretty much the same thing as taking ADHD meds or antidepressants, except you're fucking cutting your dick off. But regardless, you're doing what you think is best for you, and I'm always gonna support that. But here's the thing, okay? You know, children don't know what's best for them, okay? That's kind of why they need parents and to be taken care of, because they're fucking children. So when a kid wants to cut his dick off and become a girl, chances are he probably hasn't thought that all the way through. And then you got like the whole parent aspect, like no, you don't know what the fuck your kid's going through. Only they know what they're going through, okay? And once they're an adult who can think for themselves, then they can cut off their dick and become a woman. Not to mention the influence a parent can have on their kid. As a child, you trust your parents a lot. What if your parents want to cut off your dick and get gender reassignment surgery? What if they teach it in class? What if they learn about it in school? You know, my sister was hanging out with our fucking neighbor, comes back to the patio afterwards, says, I'm non-binary. I'm like, huh? What? Motherfucker, you're 9. You're not non-binary. She really thought she didn't have a gender because our fucking neighbor who literally eats cardboard said so. Can you imagine if we had shitty parents? Okay, my parents ended up talking some sense into her, but like, what if they just didn't? What if they just went with it and let her become non-fucking binary, whatever that means? And that's why kids should never, ever be allowed to get gender reassignment surgery, because that's a permanent decision they're gonna live with for the rest of their life, and they need to make that decision with the clearest of minds, not when they're a fucking child. And you know why transgenderism shouldn't be taught in schools either? Because when you have gender dysmorphia, you fucking know. People with gender dysphoria feel terrible, okay? They don't feel comfortable in their own skin, they don't feel like they belong anywhere, you know? Like, you fucking know when you should be transgender is what I'm trying to say. You don't need to take a class, you don't need to talk to other transgender people, you know, okay? Watch any documentary about any transgender person, they knew from the fucking jump. But now can you imagine if they taught it in class? All these young, impressionable kids who have no idea what's best for them see this and they're like, shit, maybe I'm transgender, maybe I'm non-binary, maybe I'm a fucking Apache helicopter. And then they get gender reassignment surgery, take a bunch of hormones, live with that for the rest of their life, and shit, who knows, maybe it was the right decision, but then again, there's a chance that it wasn't. And teaching that shit in schools just increases the odds of that shit happening. And it's like, dude, why are we teaching it in schools? You don't need a fucking class. You will know if you have gender dysphoria. And can you imagine being transgender because when you were a kid you thought you were? Can you imagine being a grown adult, you're going through fucking hormone replacement therapy only to realize like, hey, maybe I should be my real fucking gender. Maybe I shouldn't be a fucking transgender woman. And I feel like out of everyone, transgender people should understand this. I feel like the actual people who have gone through HRT should understand that you will know. Like, why would you ever want to advocate for that being taught in the classroom? Genuinely curious. Let me know if you're transgender in the comments.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it, you're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting, I'm ready to go, I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moist says that woman's a pedophile. But if then, the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe
okay.
everyone has.
This is the reason why I said I can't pick a side, because just fucking listen to this shit. Basically, what Sneako's trying to say is that consent should be based on maturity and not age. And to an extent, he kinda has a point. Like, say you meet some 17-year-old who's graduated college, has her own business, lives by herself, fucking makes her own food. Maybe, just maybe I'll let it slide. That's not that weird. But here's the thing, okay? That doesn't exist. You're never gonna meet a 16-year-old like that. And even if you did, the only reason why it's not weird is because she's very mature for her age, okay? She's done a lot of the things that most 18-year-olds have done. And that's why the age of consent is important, okay? Because guess what? You can't measure maturity, all right? You can't look at a 17-year-old and say, all right, you know what? She's mature enough for me to fuck. No! You need to have a cutoff age like 18, because that's when most people graduate high school. That's when most people move out of their parents' house. That's when most people become and resemble an adult. And I know people are gonna say some people aren't that mature at 18. Some people don't go to college, and yeah, that might be the case, but most do, and that's why that's the fucking law. I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there who are above the age of 18 who aren't mature at all. They can be manipulated just like a child can, blah blah blah, but guess what? Okay, that's a very small amount of people. And listen, if you ever meet one of those people, like, yes, it's still weird to get with them, okay? You're manipulating them, it's just not illegal. You're just a fucking creep. And while plenty of 17-year-olds are probably mature enough to have sex and shit, most of them aren't, and having the legal age of consent makes that illegal, so it stops them from being manipulated. It's not that fucking hard. So like, yeah, the age of consent isn't perfect, but it definitely fucking helps. Oh my god, dude, what the fuck am I yelling about? I gotta end this video. Moral of the video, neither of these two are correct or right, and I feel like Charlie, MoistCr1tikal, is just like, I don't know, I kind of lost respect for him, bro. Like, that's a very shitty take on your end, Charlie. But, yeah, I think that's gonna be the video, guys. If you liked it, subscribe. If you didn't, fuck you. If you haven't already, make sure you go follow me on everything and my Discord. I'll put all the links down below. And, yeah, peace out, guys. Bye. I love you all.
Too shicey, that's my dog. But Pooh, you know I'm really